All right, everybody, welcome. Hey, special shout out to the Midwesterner. It's great to have some, you all could learn a lot from this guy right here at the Midwesterner. He's been cranking out some great stories, and I'm really impressed with Jordan. I watched Jordan on Off the Record, and I see the dean has finally showed up to one of my press conferences. Welcome, Mr. Skubik. Great to have you, sir. But no, I thought you did a great job. I've never seen someone ask a Democrat a tough question, and you asked him 3 or 4 times, and I give Jordan credit. She listened to the entire press conference, and I mean, you probably 5, 6 times, and it was almost like you're laughing at some point. You're back to the press conference, and this is what Hall said. It was incredible off the record. It's probably the best one I've ever seen, but I give the dean credit for being here because you think of the dozens and dozens of, probably hundreds of media people that you've mentored, and to watch them grow over time on your show is incredible. And Jordan, you did a great job, so I give you credit. I hope you all do your journalism that way. Don't always just do it to me. Do it to the Democrats sometimes, and it's great to have our Senate Appropriations Chair here, Sarah Anthony. And it was really hard to make a decision of who our chair is going to be because Sarah Anthony's tough and she's experienced. And I mean, you look at that budget, almost everything in it was for Lansing. And you say, this is a tough person, a serious person and an experienced person. How do we put the right lineup together to stand up to Sarah Anthony? I don't want her to take advantage of us and our voters and, make a bad deal with her. Jen Flood and Gretchen Whitmer, they're tough too. These are tough, experienced negotiators, and somebody is going to have to stand up for the taxpayers. So we've made our selections. I'm here to introduce them here today. Our new House Appropriations Chair is going to be Ann Bolin, Representative Ann Bolin, and our new Vice Chair is going to be the Mad Dog, Representative Matt Maddock. So that's what we're going to do. I wanted the media to know first. And I'll tell you, when we're going up against such tough, experienced, and strong people here in the Senate and the governor, I just felt it was really important to have leaders that are going to look at this budget. You look, it went up, 43% under Whitmer. When I started, it was $57 billion, and now it's $84 billion. Somebody has to go back and look at this and try to find some value for the taxpayers. And you look, there are all these great ideas that Sarah Anthony and the governor and others came up with. I'm just saying somebody should go back and look at the other things and say, do we need these things anymore? And so we needed people that were meticulous, that will get into the weeds and the details, and look at each one of these programs and determine where is the value for the taxpayer? What is the return on investment for the taxpayer? So that's what we're going to do. And then the other announcement that I wanted to make here today is the Democrat vice chair for the committee will be Alabaz Farhat. And I don't know if we've told him that yet. I don't think we have. So maybe Gideon or Lindsay or somebody should notify him. But I think, this is an individual. And I want to go back to Leader Puri. I've just seen a track record from him of trying to punish some of his members with some of the early things he sent us for different assignments. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to do a few things. Number one, we're trying to fix the roads without raising taxes. And thank God they just found $1 billion. You have to be excited about that, Chair Anthony. I mean, we got $1 billion and more money. So that's just going to make it so much easier to fix the roads without raising taxes. Right. So, but you look at this, they find $1 billion, and then we want to work with somebody and work with the Democrats on fixing roads and infrastructure. And I just want to say Farhat has been somebody that's introduced some of those ideas. I've talked about a commitment on the Public Safety Trust Fund. I think it's really important. And so that's somebody that's worked with us on that issue in the past. And then finally, when you look at the, just some of the areas, I started a Southeast Michigan office recently, basically an external affairs office focused on Southeast Michigan, because people, when I was campaigning to be speaker and to take the majority back, people kept coming up to me and telling me, you know, it would sure be nice if someone in the speaker's office would pick up the phone for Southeast Michigan leaders. They couldn't get the speaker to do that before me. So we created a dedicated office to do that, and Courtney Goddard is leading it, you know, a former Democrat who's seen, you know, what our movement is doing. And so as we're reaching out into these communities like Detroit and Wayne County and Hamtramck and Dearborn Heights, you know, I'm really excited to work with Rep. Farhat as we're learning more about those communities and building and ensuring that we're strengthening those communities. I mean, Sarah Anthony does a great job for Lansing, so Lansing will be fine. But some of these Southeast Michigan communities, I think, can really benefit from our involvement, and I think Farhat will help us with that. So I've got a lot more to say, and I'll answer your questions. But right now, I know you don't want to hear from me. It's no fun. You guys, I'm so accessible to you, you hear me too much. Let's turn it over to our new House Appropriations Chair, Ann Bolin. Yeah, that's good.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate your confidence and the trust you've placed in me. I look forward. Senator Anthony, we started on approps together when we were freshmen, and Rep. Maddock, my neighbor, colleague, and friend. This is about restoring fiscal responsibility, cutting waste. You know, we have a real problem with the public's trust, and we are committed to working on behalf of the Michigan taxpayers to restore the public trust. This is a new era. We believe in finding value for the taxpayers' dollars. And the state of Michigan has my commitment, my caucus has this commitment, the members of the House of Representatives, that we are going to approach this budget. It's going to be a principled budget, not a political budget. This is the taxpayers' money. We have to ensure that we are funding that which reflects our values, funding essential services, infrastructure, making sure our elections are funded properly. And I look forward to working across the aisle with our Senate counterparts and with the governor for a sustainable, fiscally responsible budget on behalf of the taxpayers. And I look forward to answering your questions, working alongside and on behalf of the Republican caucus to do this, and with the minority vice chair. So thank you very much for being here. This is the most important thing that we do. I think that Speaker Hall has a vision on how we can really make it a lot more manageable. We see that the DHHS budget, which is a monster, I've sat on that since I was a freshman, and I think his vision to kind of break it into parcels, if you will, is going to give us really a path forward to look at what's working, what's not working. We have a lot of duplicative services. Times are still tough for people. We're still coming out of COVID. Our population is not growing, and just because CREC reported on Friday that we have $1 billion that we didn't really anticipate doesn't mean we should spend it and that it's forever. We don't print money here in the state of Michigan, so I look forward to advancing and being a good steward of the public's money. Thank you.
Thanks. That's great. That's good. That's good. These guys are very happy. Media doesn't like it. I don't know why. I don't know. But no, we've got some important things, and then I'll turn it over to Vice Chair Maddock. But a couple things. Did you all get this handout? Do you get this handout? So I think if you look at these three things that are bulleted in green, that's really important. And what that is, you know, as Chair Bolin mentioned, we're going to be breaking up DHHS into 3 subcommittees in the House. One that focuses on Medicaid and behavioral health, one that focuses on human services, and one that focuses on public health. And the reason for that is I never understood this. You know, I have to assign like 12 or 13 subcommittee chairs to 50% of the budget, and then one subcommittee chair to the other 50% of the budget. When I became oversight chair in 2019, almost every audit I got from state government that was a really bad audit came from DHHS. And so I thought that we could benefit from 3 subcommittees really digging into these issues, partnering with 3 oversight committees, which I've already mentioned those in the past. But if you look at the oversight committees, you know, there's one on the child welfare system, which is probably the worst audit any of us have ever seen, is that audit. I mean, there were like 19 material findings. It was probably more than that. they need a lot of work. And we need members that are thinking every day about those subjects. You look at the public health and food security issue, the Michigan Public Health Institute. Do you guys remember that? And, there are people that work for this quasi-outside government organization that's partnering with the 3 research universities, and then they appear on the DHHS org chart. And then we'd go and we'd say, hey, we want information about these guys. And they'd say, oh, no, they're not subject to any of that because they don't work for DHHS. They work for Michigan Public Health Institute. Well, is the Michigan Public Health Institute actually making people healthier? We're going to find out. And then third, the state and local public assistance programs is part of our oversight, right? And Democrats have expanded all of these programs on their way out the door of their trifecta. And so we need to make sure that we're actually doing the important checks to make sure that people that are eligible are receiving all of these exciting new benefits. And so, so you see you've got 3 oversight committees working hand in hand with 3 appropriation subcommittees, because a lot of this value for your dollars that we're going to get is going to come out of DHHS and other places. But a lot of it, if it's 50% of the government spending, a lot of it's going to have to come out of there. I know not all of you are in math, but you get that, right? And so then you take all this money and you use it to, with the $1 billion they just found, thank goodness for the House Fiscal and the Senate Fiscal, and then they're going to fund the roads. We'll fund the roads and bridges and infrastructure without raising taxes. And if we can find enough, maybe we'll even reverse the Democrat income tax hike when they raised the income tax last year. So I think those are really important things. I do want to now turn it over to the vice chair. But before I do, there's just a few bullet points for those of you that have this sheet. If you look below that, we point out that we're locating this MyLeap department in with higher ed in the House, just as you're looking at these subcommittees. Judiciary and corrections will be combined into one budget. And then Michigan State Police and veterans will be separate. I mean, you read these stories about the Michigan State Police and how messed up they are under this new colonel. And just how, that department has really gone from one of the greatest police forces in the country to one that has a lot of controversy. It really needs its own budget in order to get to the bottom of a lot of those problems. I'll turn it over now to our new vice chair, the Mad Dog, Representative Matt Maddock.
Thank you, Speaker Hall. You've put together a great team, and we're going to do great things for the people in Michigan. I came here to chew bubble gum and to cut budgets, and I'm all out of bubble gum. Everything that the Democrats have done the last 4 years since Gretchen Whitmer's been in office, they've basically taken our budget and almost doubled it. So Michigan has grown its government like this. Meanwhile, the Michigan median family income has remained almost stagnant like this. So if the families are making money like this and the government's making money like that, that is not fair for anyone in the state, and we're going to fix it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Matt. And, I just want to make sure, we put together, and I just want to, this is one more thing about Leader Puri. And what a great job you guys did on Off the Record, because, no one reported on this, and then Jordan kept this in her back pocket and brought it up on Off the Record. But when you look at those rules, and I watched this thing, and Puri says, when we were involved in the negotiations on the rules, and then he goes on. And then Jordan says, well, wait a minute, and she's correct. The first thing that Speaker Hall said in the press conference about the rules was, the first condition the Democrats had for their new rules was, we don't want the transparency on earmarks. Take that out as a condition of us supporting your rules. Now, I didn't tell you this before, and a lot of people think I should leak this document, but all you people in the press know I am not a leaker. I'm not going to leak it. I really want to leak it, because if you guys saw these rules they wanted, you'd probably all become Republicans. But I'm not going to do it. But the number 2 was taking out a call to a higher power in the prayer. I thought that was, these are the rules changes you want, and that's why we just didn't entertain that. I mean, these are the things the Democrats want, taking out a call to a higher power and not letting you know in advance who's sponsoring these earmarks and what the public benefit is and who they go to, who the beneficiary is, and giving the public time beforehand in order to review this. So we dismissed that. And then did you notice, number one, he defended the current process, the process where, a year later, somebody puts their name on it, and then you guys tell us a year after we voted what we voted on? That's not a transparent process. And then by the end, Jordan had him so bad, he said, well, actually, I was not involved in the negotiations. It's kind of funny, because you watch that tape again. When we were negotiating, and then he says, well, I was not involved in the negotiations, and throws his team under the bus. So I don't know who came up with these rules, but I'm just telling you, when I look at this stuff, between all of that, I just have I would be concerned if I was a member of his caucus and I was a reasonable member who was trying to collaborate. And you look at this, they're trying to punish some of these people. So anyway, we're working through the committees very diligently. We're working on that to make sure that we make good selections for who the Democrats are on each of these committees based on their, what did they campaign on? What are their backgrounds? What are their skill sets? How can they each contribute to this body without being punished by their leadership? Because, you shouldn't be punished by your leadership just because you're trying to solve problems like what we're seeing in some of Puri's early stuff he's sending us and others are sending us. So I would just say with that, but we want to bring real earmark reform to state government. I think this is the number one transparency issue in government is where are these things coming from? Who's sponsoring them? What is the public benefit? And where are they going? All right? And so come forward, honestly, and tell us what they are. And if they have a legitimate public purpose and you're proud of them, maybe we'll put them in there. But I'll tell you this, and someone can do the research on this. This is my anecdotal research. But I believe under Snyder, the average for these things was probably about 25 million. That's my guess. If you went back, I'd probably be pretty close. I don't know if Gorchow's here. He probably could do it off the top of his head. And then under Whitmer, I do know this number. The average is about 500 million a year under Whitmer of these earmarks. They call them what? Enhancement grants? Is that what they call them? 500 million a year. And now, when the Democrats were in charge, those numbers were much higher, and when the Republicans had the legislature, they were lower, but it averages out to 500 million. So if you could reform this piece, there's $500 million to fix the roads. Say we only do 100 million. That's $400 million to fix the roads on average. And then when we get rid of the mega credits, that's another $500 million a year. I almost found $1 billion. And then they just found $1 billion in crack. That's $2 billion. We're getting pretty close. Right. So that's why the public doesn't believe these people that we can't fix the roads without raising taxes. So, but anyway, I see that we have a member who just joined us. So I didn't get a chance to share this with you, but so I apologize. But we did announce that if you're willing to accept, you want to come up here, you're going to be the Democrat vice chair for approps. So Al Abbas Farhat. So yeah, welcome. Sorry to catch you off guard here, if I did, but.
Yeah, let me just grab my remark.
Why don't you want to come up and,
Congratulations.
Hey, okay.
you want to come up
Hey,
and
how are you?
speak? Yeah, good to see you.
Hey, how are you? Hi. I'm still composing what exactly to say right now. I'll say this, though. The budget is a serious process. I see Chairwoman Anthony here, somebody I'm going to be leaning on for advice and guidance throughout the term. It's a constitutional obligation we have to pass a balanced budget. And I plan on working closely with my caucus to deliver real wins and value for taxpayers. I know we agree on roads, so hopefully there's a lot more alignment there. Right now, I think the conversation has to be around the cost of living crisis that people are experiencing, and how we solve that, and how we take real steps towards affordability, which I know we've started these past 2 years, and hopefully we continue doing. I think, it's going to be important, though, in the spirit of collaboration, that we continue to have, strong input on these committees. Speaker Hall, as you mentioned, I think it's important that, that we're able to give input on that as well. I think that's really important. But I really don't have much more than that. I appreciate you folks.
Yeah, well, that's great. So thanks. You see the media clap for that. But just a moment, Representative. So I'll say a couple things. Number one, you said we. I'd be willing, to give you input on these committee assignments. I think that, you have a good handle on your caucus, and I think that we want to work with you collaboratively to set up a committee that will help us work together to help the people of Michigan. So I want to correct you. I will give you that opportunity to give us the feedback so that we can make sure we have good people that are ready to help bring value for our tax dollars and look out for the public. So I'll say that. And then number two, I just know that, like I said, Lansing has Sarah Anthony, okay? Lansing's going to be just fine. But for a lot of these marginalized communities in southeast Michigan, working together with us for Wayne County, for Dearborn Heights, for Hamtramck, for Detroit, we really are hopeful we can work with you and your members to ensure that these communities have opportunities in this budget as well. There are a lot of great representatives, people like Karen Whitsett and others, that are strong advocates, and I know you're a strong advocate for your district and these communities. I'm hopeful we can work with you to partner with my Southeast Michigan office that we just launched to ensure that we're answering the phone and helping these communities. So we want to work with you, we want to work with the Democrats, and we want to do great things in this budget. But we also have to work together, because if we don't, Sarah Anthony will eat our lunch. She's so tough in her negotiating, and so is Jen Flood and the governor. But I hope you'll accept this appointment with the spirit of bipartisanship, and we're looking forward to working with you.
Yeah, no, I look forward to it as well, Mr. Speaker.
Oh, thank you. All right. How about that? Here, let's do one more time. Let's do a picture right here.
We do one of these like how Trump does it?
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah, okay, there you go.
All right.
All right.
See, the media likes you. They think you're funny.
Hopefully think I'm serious.
All right. No, that's good. Well, good. See, we're starting to assign people to committees, and you'll see more of it later. I'll turn it over now to the press. I'm sure hold on, I gotta get my talking points here. I gotta stay scripted, so I got this. All right. If there are no questions, that's fine, but we'll take questions. Are there any questions? Yes, Jordan.
Curious, just off the bat, we talk about eliminating wasteful government spending. Interested to hear some ideas that your caucus may already be bringing up with respect to that.
Yeah, is there anything you want to say? Go ahead. This is our slasher right here, so I'll let her do it.
So I think that there are a lot of places that we can look to cut the budget. In this last budget cycle, the Republican caucus, we offered close to 100 amendments. Really looking, do we need this extensive contingencies? Is there sales tax revenues increased? Where should it be allotted to? They're duplicative programs. We need to look at all of it. I think it is a great vision, again, that Speaker Hall has. DHHS just over half the budget. We're not coming here because we want to slash everything. What we want to do is increase the transparency and accountability and make sure that every program is giving us value for the dollar. I don't think that's unreasonable, and in fact, I think that should be the expectation of what you expect us to do. The one job we have in the House of Representatives is to appropriate the money. And we're going to go through it, comb through it, welcome all the input. I look forward to working with colleagues across the aisle. Having time to look at the budget, come up with ideas, what's working, what isn't. I don't think that's unreasonable, and again, I think it should absolutely be the expectation from the people that we represent.
I want to take it a step forward. Speaker Hall has done a great job with oversight, and there's going to be oversight like you've never seen in this town in probably 50 years. And I also know there's some really good people in this town that are members of the the lobby corps, for example. When I was transportation chair, I campaigned on fraud, waste, eliminating fraud, waste, and abuse, and everyone knows there is waste in government. Everybody knows that. I had lobbyists literally sneaking into my office, letting me know where the waste was, where the dead bodies are buried. So I am really optimistic about what we have ahead of us, because I think there's some really great people in this town that are going to help us identify some of those wasteful things that we're spending money on too. Thank you.
Yeah, and so, and again, if the lobbyists didn't understand based on our rule change, with these two up here, I think they get it now, that we're serious about reforming our budget and bringing better practices to our earmark process. Are there other, the dean here, go ahead, Dean.
Madam Chair, if you will, with regard to the surplus, to the steps of my will you oppose any efforts to take the surplus and put it into the general fund?
Well, I think we have to evaluate what are the needs of the general fund, what are the needs in the restricted funds, and take it from there. We have really been left out of the budget process the last 2 years. This is a very different approach. I do have a reputation for digging in and looking for things, identifying things, doing further inquiries. I have that same commitment to continue to do that. I think it's premature to say we're going to cut here, we're going to spend there. We need to take this broad approach to looking at it. Yes, we have a aggressive time that we schedule that we're going to be on. We have to deliver a balanced budget by the end of September, and we're committed to do that if we're able to do that. But there has to be a will on behalf of the Senate and the governor's office to work with us.
Right.
We have the will to address all these concerns of the people that we represent, and we're going to do that to the best of our ability.
What is your fear that the Democrats will try to use most of that surplus to put into the general fund for their programs?
I'm not afraid of anything when it comes to it. I am committed to working on behalf of the taxpayers and making sure that we're adding value to the taxpayers. And we will take it to the people. This should not be, our work should not be in secrecy. It shouldn't be behind closed doors. We are going to bring transparency. And so many things have been completely overturned in the last 2 years. This is not how government should work. And the expectation is, we're a purple state. We come from across the state. I happen to be on the outskirts of Southeast Michigan. It is important. I want to make sure that my kids want to stay in the state. Someday have grandkids, stay here. I'd like to retire here. I'd like to leave this place in a better place than I found it. And the public has my commitment to do that.
Any other questions?
Speaker Hall, are you considering Representative Whitsett for any chairmanship positions this term?
Well, I haven't received from her yet her submissions on the surveys. So as I said, we sent out a survey to all 110 members of the legislature to see what they're interested in, and so we'll get feedback from her and all the others. And most of them have turned it in, but we're still waiting to hear from Rep. Whitsett. And you think about Rep. Whitsett is so talented. I mean, there's so many areas where she could serve and lead for the state. So it'll be very interesting to see what she decides she's interested in.
Mr. Speaker, are you out to get the governor?
No.
You heard what Mr. Purvis said, right?
Well, I watch your show. I don't know what he said. He was talking out of both sides of his mouth, so I don't know what he said. I just know this, that the last 2 years, the government has been unchecked. I served as oversight chair, and so I understand how it works and what we need to do to bring that level of transparency and accountability back to the executive branch. And what I tried to do was create 6 areas that I thought were really important. And you look at the foreign influence and homeland security. You look at the child welfare system, the weaponization of state government, which is one of the biggest problems our state faces, the corporate subsidies and state investments. And you guys have done such great reporting on that, where you find out they just give GM the $666 million, whether they create the jobs or not. What is the return on investment on these things? Public health, like I mentioned, and food security. We learned about how bad our food security was during the pandemic, and that's a very fragile system, right? And if it goes down, we got a problem. But also, are these Michigan Public Health Institute programs working? Are they making us healthier? We're going to find out. The state and local public assistance programs. So what I tried to do was look at where do I think the 6 biggest problems in government are, and how do we go and take people that are dedicated on these issues, that are thinking about these problems every day, going out and investigating them. Because you guys shouldn't, I'm sick of just reading about these things in the press. Why do you guys find out about them before we do?
Right.
Well, I think it's because we don't have people dedicated to these subjects every day. So in my view, we work these subjects, we come up with reports and recommendations. They work hand in hand with our appropriations and policy committees, and then we can propose things in budgets and in new laws to reform these departments. So that's really what we're trying to do. We're trying to solve these 6 problems. Now, when I was chair of the Oversight Committee and the COVID-19 Pandemic Committee, not all these government bureaucrats are willing to come forward voluntarily, and you all see the way they stonewall all of you. So if we have to take measures like subpoena power, we're going to do it because we're going to get answers.
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
Chair Bolin, so we're predicting strong revenue right now for the state's next budget. In the past negotiators have used that as a way to give everyone a little bit of something for everyone, as a way to build support for the budget. How do you plan on building support for this budget, especially with divided government, while also, as you say, trying to cut wasteful spending?
Well, I think, again, I'm going to go back to the will. I have the will to do it. I am a listener. This is going to be a group effort. It is not going to be the appropriate chair and Bolin budget. This is going to be the House budget. And moving forward, giving people a little bit of something. Wouldn't it be great if we could put an income tax cut and
Yes.
every working Michigander got a tax cut?
Yeah.
That's working for the people, making sure long-term our infrastructure is funded. That is good for everybody, not just a select few. I think we need to revisit what our approach is. It's not to say that these programs that have been instituted are bad programs. It's just a matter, we all make choices in our family budgets. What's the priority of our family? Where's the money coming from? We know we have problems on the horizon. We have a decreasing population. We have an aging population. We've just overturned some reforms. We have things that we haven't even yet to experience in the budget that are continue to have a burden on the budget moving forward. And on small businesses, the unemployment benefits, whether you agree or disagree, extending the weeks and that we increase the benefit, I mean, that's going to be balanced on the backs of our business owners. We need to think long and hard of what the residual consequences of every single decision. And that's why partnering with our oversight, our policy committees, looking at this. If you recall, we have the Office of the Auditor General, which does a phenomenal job digging into these departments. The MPHI that Speaker Hall referenced, I did an additional inquiry a couple years ago on that, trying to dig into this in recognizing we identified what some of these conflicts were. The governor slashed the Auditor General's budget last year. There isn't a desire for accountability by this administration, I feel at times, and we need to restore that. And I am confident that the governor is going to agree with that. We're going to come together and make it happen.
In the past, your Democratic colleagues have called the budget a value statement. How do you frame the budget?
Or I don't think throwing money into the garbage can or just throwing it up in the air and seeing where it falls is value.
Right.
Okay, I think that is deficient. I think it's reckless, and I want a dollar to equal a dollar, 100 cents. And if we get $1, $1.25, all the better. But it shouldn't be just reckless spending. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and so, the way we think about it is this, right? Remember, these are taxpayer dollars. I saw this press release where a Democrat said, I've never met her before. I think it was Shink or somebody. No, it was Zong, my Zong. I get them all. Yeah, there's a lot of different Democrats issuing statements right now. But one of them said, some bill will lower health care costs for government workers. Wait a minute. The taxpayers are paying for that. The taxpayers are going to it's not just lowering costs for healthcare workers. We're taking money out of your paycheck to pay for it, okay? So what I'm saying is every dollar we take from a taxpayer in this state, we have to get a better use for it than they would. Otherwise, we should return it for them.
Right.
And so when you see this great expansion of government, 43% increase under Whitmer, are we getting that value for your dollars? You know, are we getting a return on investment for the taxpayer? So we're going to look at this budget with that emphasis and that focus, and that's the value that we're going to approach it from. And then I would just say, too, one more thing about this in my transparency reforms. You know, I want to do something with these conference committees, too. I mean, you look at these conference committees, and they meet, and then all these things show up, things that never appeared before. They weren't in the House budget. They weren't in the Senate budget. They just appear in the middle of the night, and then they get approved, and they're in the final budget. So, you know, part of transparency is limiting these conference committees to areas of disagreement. You know, what was in the House budget, what was in the Senate budget, and then conference committeeing over those things. Not sneaking these other things in, big programs in the middle of the night after the fact. So, you know, this is real transparency, and this is harder transparency because, you know, it'd be changing a lot of the practices in this town. But I think you all should be excited. We've got some real transparent budget ideas. And I remember Craig Mauger didn't believe me. I said, Craig, I'm going to do this. He said, I will hold you to it. So hopefully he's hearing this somewhere, and maybe he'll say something nice for once, you know, because I told him, I said we were going to do this. Now we're actually proposing it. It's in the House rules. Even though Leader Puri tried to take it out, we just steamrolled him, and it's in there in terms of the earmarks, and we've got more to come. So any other questions? This is great. Yeah.
I did want to ask about some of the internal working relationships here. Rep. Maddock, you weren't on any committees last term, and you're stepping into this huge role. And I know you and Speaker Hull haven't always been maybe the closest. And then you have a dynamic between Minority Leader Puri and Representative Farhat. Can you talk a little bit about how everybody's going to come together for this appropriation?
Anything you want to say?
You know, we may not always agree on everything, and I don't think anyone in this room agrees on everything, but I think Speaker Hall is wise enough to see real talent and use it where it's needed. And I was looking for a good outcome, and I can't think of anything better than this team that he's putting together right now. And we're going to work together great. We go back a long time. We've had our differences, but we've also had some great times together. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's great. And that's, you know, we're not punishing our members like other people are trying to do over past disagreements. I mean, when you saw that walkout on the House floor, and you contrast that with what we saw from the Democrats over the last year, I mean, we didn't always start there, but we came together as a caucus, and you know, we're only as strong last term as our weakest member on issues like that. If one member decides that they want to go independent, then, you know, some of that stuff wouldn't have worked. So, you know, when you look at the hundreds of bills that we stopped last term because Tate and the Democrats walked away when we had an understanding that they were going to move that tip wage and sick leave bill, and they broke their word and decided not to put it up. I mean, the taxpayers are great beneficiaries of that, from everything to the wacky electoral college changes they wanted with the national popular vote, to the, you know, handing out driver's licenses to illegal aliens. You know, incredible the things they were trying to do, the wacky Hollywood film credits. We stopped all of that. And you guys, if you haven't seen it, you should all look at this picture that Jonathan Lindsay put up. There's the stack of the bills that the Democrats were trying to ram through in lame duck. And by the way, I've supported, Ann Bolin convinced me, we need lame duck reform. We need a 2/3 vote on any bill in lame duck. I think that's really important. And we need to end the revolving door where these people become lobbyists. I mean, you look at this, when you actually have to worry as a leader, do any of these people have jobs? I hope not, because I need everyone in this caucus to do what I need to do here in lame duck. You got to worry about that stuff? That's not good. So when you couple those things together with the revolving door combined with the 2/3 vote on lame duck, I think you'll address some of these concerns that we all have about where are these legislators' loyalties, and then secondly, if it's good policy, do it before the election.
Right.
If it's divisive and controversial. I haven't always had that position, but Rep. Bolin said, Matt, after watching this, I mean, you see this? And I said, you're right. You were right. Not all of us have perfect instincts in the beginning, but people like me, we can learn over time. And so I've done that. Actually, both of these people have taught me a lot over the last 2 years. So I'll just say, we had to learn all those lessons along the way to come together and be a unit. And if you look at this picture Jonathan Lindsay had, it was a stack about this high of what the Democrats wanted to do in lame duck, and then it was a stack about this high of what they actually got to do. And I know a lot of you are sitting in the back because it's so low you can't see my hand, but it wasn't very much. We'll see what the governor signs too, never know. But the point is, that's the unity, and these are the type of decisions that leaders have to make. No one in the public cares about who I got along with or didn't get along with. All they care about is, are we putting the best people forward to get the results that we told the people of Michigan we were going to do? And we told them we were going to reverse the Democrat income tax hike. We told them we were going to bring transparency back to government through changing this revolving door for lobbyists, and we were going to get them value for their tax dollars. And I'm proud here to say today, these people leading our appropriations committee are going to deliver on that promise. And it's going to unify our caucus because they're going to see this isn't like the past when these people would campaign on it and then look the other way and just shove through $2 billion worth of earmarks in a budget. Those days are over.
Right.
Any other questions?
Speaker, the rules that you put forward, they address like a certain kind of earmark, but there are several other ways that they put earmarks through in the past, like, they don't call them enhancement grants, they're infrastructure grants, healthcare grants. The clear health part that is being investigated right now, that's in the HHS budget. What guarantees can you give that, maybe there won't be enhancement grants in the same way, but they could be shown through a variety of other ways?
Yeah. So, we debated this when we created the rule, and Puri says he wasn't part of the negotiations, but when we created the rule that Puri opposed and the Democrats opposed to bring transparency to earmarks, we debated this, and I said, do we put the rule, do we put it in there, or do we lay out sort of bright guidelines, and then say we're going to do it through resolution? And what I decided was we're going to do it through resolution. So we put in there guidelines, and I don't have them in front of me, but they're essentially, you must disclose the sponsor in advance, the public benefit, the recipient, okay? And then it says we're going to do it through resolution. Well, the reason we did it that way is because what I find is when we, instead of like what the Democrats did there at the end, you guys all remember, you go into committee, and Jim Hodsma, some people call him the election denier, but he lost, and after 3 times, he lost 3 times. You think, how bad would it be to lose 3 times? But anyway, Jim Hodsma comes in and lame duck, puts these binders on the table, and they're big binders that go through all these actuary things, and says, we don't have time for any testimony today, just shove it through, because I have to get this to the floor today. Well, when you do stuff like that, there are things that you miss. And so what I thought the benefit of this was is we put this out there, you guys now are scrutinizing it, and you just gave me some good ideas that we can consider for our resolution. So just because our rule says this, our resolution could include much more. That's why I included it in the rule that way, where it's done by resolution and a vote of the body, so that we can hear the feedback and you see where the gaps are, and then we can look to address those in the rule. So thank you for bringing that to me. That's really helpful, because imagine if I would have done it the other way, and then the Senate would have just shoved all this stuff in those other sections, because I told you Sarah Anthony is really sharp. I would have been out of luck. So thank you.
Good.
Any other questions?
Timeline for other committee announcements.
You guys want to do every committee announcement this way? What do you think, Ruby? We're doing them all right now? Just whoever I mean, I see St. Germain's here. Should we give her one? And Bagul? I'm just kidding. We're going to, yeah, go ahead.
It's my understanding that the first woman chair of appropriations for the House was for Fox in 2016. I was wondering, what Mullen, if you have any thoughts carrying on that legacy of women chairing this committee? And I was wondering for Rep. Hall, as you are deciding leadership, what role some of the women in your party might take in this, and your thoughts on some women being the ones that flipped some of the seats in your competitive districts.
Do you want to take that?
Sure. Thank you. Look, it is an absolute honor to have this appointment, and I appreciate Speaker Hall's trust. The three of us did come in as legislators together, so we're kind of like in the same class, if you will. And so it's good to be carrying the torch. Yes, I am very proud to be a woman and to have the position, but it should not matter if you're a man or a woman. It is a matter of who is the best for the job. And you have my commitment. I am going to do my very best on behalf of the caucus. Speaker Hall has entrusted me, and on behalf of the people in the state of Michigan. And I do think we need more women. We need a lot more women to step up, to run for the legislature, to do this. We all have our skill sets, and I think we have the commitment to absolutely, from the speaker, to leverage that. We all come from different backgrounds, different areas of the state. And, my goal is, we have a lot of women coming in, and I'm happy to see that, and I hope that I can mentor them and work with them, and I will need their support, too, as we advance our goals.
Yeah, and for me, it was just looking at the matchups, right? I mean, you look at Jen Flood, Governor Whitmer, Sarah Anthony. When I assessed all the men in our caucus, I said, there's nobody here tough enough to handle them. So then we looked at the women, and it was a tough call because we've got two or three of them that are really tough. But Rep. Bolin is the one that I think will do the best job because it's going to be a really difficult assignment. I mean, these two have been working on other budgets in the past. They're sharp, they're tough, they're experienced. But I'll also say, and we'll announce at a later time, but another person there was a lot of speculation around was Sarah Leitner. And Sarah would have been great. I mean, could you imagine? But we'll announce at a later time, but we have a very special assignment, an important assignment for Rep. Leitner as well, where I think she'll contribute a lot to our effort, and we'll announce that at a later time, but it's going to be great. Then the other part of your question, yeah, we had some really good candidates. You look at our recruitment, and, Bill Ballinger, is probably, Bill Ballinger is kind of the gold standard when it comes to these things. And he said, I think on off the record, this was the best recruiting class he'd ever seen from the Republicans. And so you look at these people like Riley Linting, we had a lot of great candidates across the state. Jennifer Wirtz, Nancy Jenkins Arno. We've got some really good ones that are coming into our caucus and are going to be leaders. I mean, you look at Nancy Jenkins Arno. She disappeared for 6-8 years and then came back and got right into leadership on the first day. That's pretty good. So we've got some real sharp and strong women in our group, and some of the most experienced members. And I'll tell you what, Ann knows every detail of these budgets. I mean, she was telling me these guys are just shoving away these work projects, and I said, I don't even know what a work project is. And this binder was almost as big as the one Jim Hosma just dropped on that committee with no testimony. And she said, look at all these work projects we could claw back. So we're going to have a lot of fun, and I think Ann Bolin is the right person to lead that budget. Anything else? We probably have session soon. What time is it? 1:28? All right, I'm gonna call it. We got to go to session. So thank you, everyone, and we look forward to many more announcements. And read the Midwesterner if you don't. It's a great publication. Thanks, everybody.